Korean architecture has seen different trends over the year, but one architect has achieved the ability to create timeless works. Our Yim Yoonhee joins us for a look at this pioneer architect. Welcome to the program, Yoonhee.
Good afternoon. So the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art here in Korea is starting a series where they're featuring leading contemporary artists here in the country. Now they decided to open the architecture sector of this series with the architect Kimm Jong-soung, who is the foundational pillar of Korea's world of architecture. So take a look.
The sharp angles and precise lines. They may look a bit cold and unfamiliar, but to its creator, it's art. That's because Kimm Jong-soung is considered one of Korea's most brilliant architects. Each one of his creations undeniably a work of art, just not in the conventional sense. But how can something so formulaic, so black and white, so calculated, be considered art?
Science, technology, art are all together. I think the use of structure in both a technological way but in an artistic way is fundamental to architecture. And I think Professor Kimm is a master at doing this. When you look at his work in the 70s and 80s, it's just spectacular today.
Over the past 50 years, Kimm has been creating one-of-a-kind buildings found throughout the country, even abroad, each holding true to a stylistic trait where technology and art are interchangeable, resulting in a timeless masterpiece. Whether it be an iconic luxurious hotel or an office for thousands of workers, each building requires an exact calculation. So exact, it has to be an art. And to stick with his philosophy of creating a space where material, structure, and proportion are all equally as important as the ability to capture a sense of the natural, he's had to sometimes take rather unusual approaches. For example, a building in Korea used in the 1988 Olympics measures in at 60 meters by 80 meters, a huge expanse of a building. But back then, Kimm didn't want people to be weaving in and out of support beams. So, to support such a large size, Kimm had to turn to technology.
With the weightlifting gymnasium for the '88 Olympics, we had to use extensive calculations and technology to supporting the long-span structure of the building in order to allow for natural, wide, empty spaces. And with the Uyang Art Museum, I needed technology in order to anticipate all the natural factors such as sunlight, temperature, and humidity in order to control them for a comfortable building.
As timeless as Kimm's pieces are, they're also landmarks in Korea's landscape, recognizable by the millions who encounter Seoul. His classic yet modern style is something many future generations of architects can refer to, while still being appreciated by the people of today.
So I'm curious to know, were you able to find out where he studied architecture?
So they do have a comprehensive, in-depth look at where he studied and who he studied with. So he's actually known to have studied with a very well-known architect, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. And so this is a German-American architect who's considered one of the most important architects to the 20th century. And so he was able to study under him and pick up on some of his stylistic traits, such as simplicity, such as the use of modern materials, which you do see in Kimm's works. But at the same time, Kimm was able to transform them into his own style.
And you did mention that it was a part of a new series created by the MMCA. So
the Contemporary Artist Series.
Right, so they are offering art pieces other than architecture as well.
They are offering looks at other artists, at other contemporary artists. So with this series, they want to shed light upon some other contemporary artists who are not as well known, but just as important to the contemporary art world here in Korea. And so they really want to preserve and share the history of contemporary art with the viewers, of people who may not know. And so with this, they are going to be showing different types of exhibitions, such as this architecture exhibition, as well as paintings and some sculpturists. And so you get a variety of different types of art.
Okay, and the exhibition that you went to was in Gwacheon, correct?
Yes, this one is in
there's another branch of the MMCA in Seoul?
So simultaneously, the Seoul branch is holding another architecture exhibition where they will be taking a very thorough, extensive look at architecture, not just one architect, but architecture as a whole in Korea. Korea. And so you're going to be seeing some very big buildings in Korea kind of broken down by where they came from, who created them, the stories behind them. And so this one is actually going to be looking at architecture with respect to time and the different events that happened in the country as well. And so another exciting event to go look at if you really are curious about architecture, especially, here in the country. We have some very unique landmark pieces here.
Right. I mean, so whether it be Gwacheon or Seoul, it would be a good idea for a weekend outing, perhaps.
Exactly. Some beautiful weather, nice architecture to check out.
Thank you very much, Yoonhee, for today's story.
You're very welcome.